All right, everyone, we're going to go over the Dodge 3.6 thermostat. This is the Dorman unit. There's a part number on there. It replaces the plastic unit that the car comes with. Don't mind that. I think that's a little silicone I threw on there. No, that's just dirt. Anyway, I'm going to kind of go over this thermostat. I had an issue. The factory thermostat was leaking, and it was up against the housing that goes against the block, which was also plastic. So I replaced that and this. Ever since then, I've had inconsistencies in the car running the way it's supposed to run. So I knew there was error in the system because some days my whole drive to work and home would run at 207, 210. And then the other morning I went to work and it overheated. Nothing changed, just air in the system or something stupid. So I pulled the thermostat off, started looking at the anatomy of it, because typically when you have that problem, you can drill a little hole in the thermostat housing and, excuse my voice, it's scratchy, and let coolant constantly bypass that, which also lets air out. This thermostat, if you see there where there's a hole, it had a little check valve or check ball with a retainer in there. It was stuck. So I thought, I'm just going to take it out, because this actually shrinks down to a pretty small hole. You don't want a large hole because then you'll pass too much coolant through and your engine will never get up to temp. Then you'll run into other issues. So you want a small hole for coolant to pass through. But my check ball in here was stuck. So I said, you know what? I'm taking it out. So I took a drill bit and I broke the 4 tabs for the retainer and it popped right out. So I'm just going to run it without that. And basically, that allows air and coolant to pass through here, so when you're bleeding the system, you can theoretically get the air out, which that's what I was having trouble with. Now this hole goes directly right here into the bleeder screw. So the bleeder, I was under the impression that it bled from the hose side. And that's where I thought I had air behind here, and it wasn't open on the thermostat. And so I'm like, well, how do I bleed the air out? So that's where I was going to drill a hole, which when I found out the check ball was sticking, that makes sense on why there's air in there. So this actually goes right through the thermostat to the engine. So when it's bleeding air out, it's bleeding it from the engine side, which is what you want, because you want the coolant to be on this thermostat. I can see my water heating up here. So what I'm going to do is, these thermostats, I believe they open at 205. So I am heating up some water right now. And at about 200 some odd degrees, the thermostat will start to open. And that's one thing people have a misconception about, is if it's a 205 degree thermostat, it doesn't open all the way at 205. It's going to start opening at 205. So it opens a little bit, and the hotter it gets, the more it opens. It kind of works like I call it like a reverse spring. So right now we're sitting at 110, 111. It's not going to do anything. I'm going to pause the video till I get closer to 200 degrees, and then we'll start it back up and I'll show you what it does. All right, we're getting there. Now water boils at 212, so we're going to start seeing bubbles, but I'm hoping at around that 205 we'll get to see some action here. Focus on that. There we go. All right, here we go. See what happens. Okay, we're at 205. I'm not seeing anything. 206. Maybe it's higher than that. All right, I'm going to pull this because I'm going to take this out of the water. It's about to start boiling over here. Still not open. All right, we'll watch it. That was 209. I thought it was 205. Maybe it's a little higher. It still has not moved. I'm going to struggle to get past that. Interesting. Should still be around 209. Yeah, we'll see. All right, everyone, here's a continuation of the video that I started about the thermostat on my 2013 Charger. Tons of issues with it. This is after the fact. I went to, well, you saw me put this in boiling water to try to get it to open. It would not open. What I wound up doing is bringing it out here and putting my heat gun on it at like 600 degrees. Finally, something made a pop noise and came out of the neck here, and then it opened. But I'm going to show you what I found after I boiled it before I used my heat gun. So here is how you take apart the thermostat. It just kind of, I'm doing this one-handed, so I apologize, and it's kind of slick from coolant. Okay, so that's all you got to do is a quarter turn, not even a quarter turn, like an eighth of a turn, and it pops out. It's got little tabs here. This is the spring. Here is the thermostat. Now, I'm going to show you something. Look at my thermostat. You see how... You see that? How it's not even? This is before I put my heat gun on it. This is what it looked like when I pulled it out of the boiling water. I was like, that's kind of weird. Maybe it's the design of the thermostat or something funky like that, right? So when I put my heat gun on it and it popped out and I realized something was up, I went and ordered the Ripp 180 degree thermostat. Now, I do have HP tuners, so I can adjust my fans. If you put this in without adjusting your fans, you could run into issues potentially. There are people that run this thermostat without issues. The downside is your fans are set to, I think, 215 for low and 225 for high. I'm turning my fans down to like 190. I'm going to go 190 and I think 205 or 200 or something like that is what I want my fans set to so that this thermostat works efficiently. Otherwise, the thermostat stays open all the time and your fans turn on at such a high temperature that it kind of defeats the purpose. That's the plastic that they were in. This is what the Ripp thermostat looks like. You notice the difference? Notice how it's perfectly flat all the way around. It's uniform here. I'll try to stand this up. Will it stand up? Nope, I'll just do it this way. So there's the Ripp. Here is the Dorman. Notice something there? See how that's uniform all the way around? See how that's not? So let's pick up the Dorman again. See that? And then let's go with the Ripp. Notice a difference there? What was happening, and you can see it on here, see how there's marks where it was sliding up and down in this little housing here? This was binding in the thermostat. So it was, instead of sitting flush like it should, it was up like this and it couldn't come out. So it was binding. So what I'm going to do, we're just going to drop this in, and then I'm going to take this one in the house, and we are going to, see it just slides right in, drops right in, no issues. So I'm going to take this one in the house. We're going to boil it, make sure it opens at 180 like it's supposed to, and then we'll put it back in the car and bleed it. So that's our issue so far. All right, here we are at 175. Should start opening shortly. Goes 180. Now the water is 180, but it takes a little bit for that metal to heat up. There she's coming. It's hard to see with the steam. Oh, steamed up the camera. But I can see it starting to open. Yep, there we go. And it'll open, the hotter this gets, the more this will open. See how it's coming down now at 190? So now we're working. All right, we're good. All right, everyone. I am at 185, 186. I had my heat on and I went back to AC so that it closes the heat circuit and just flows through the engine instead of going through the heater core. Last time, this is where it would really overheat. And what I'm doing here is I'm just revving it up. If there's any air in the system, to bleed that air out. I have the radiator cap off. That way it'll bleed any air out. It's been about 10-15 minutes. Surprisingly, my high-speed fan is turning on already. That's kind of interesting. Or low-speed fan, sorry. But that I also have my AC on, so it could be just because the compressor is kicking on and off. But it's been about 10 minutes, and I have not gone over 188. And you don't need to rev the engine to the moon when you do this. 2,000 RPM is more than enough. Yeah, see, now she's dropping, staying in that 186, 188. We'll drop her back down to idle. So, that's what happens when you have a good thermostat in. And it'll sit here at like 188 or so. I'm going to go in and I'm going to tune the fans, and then we'll go from there. Alright, it's a little windy, so I'm going to have to talk a little loud. I just want to do a quick video on my temps since I changed to the thermostat, to the Ripp 180 degree thermostat. I'm about a half hour into my drive. I drive 70 miles each way to and from work. And so this is what the temperatures consistently are now. Top left is coolant temp 185, oil is 180, transmission is 156. and then oil pressure is 38 psi. This is pretty much consistent for my entire drive now. This weekend I took it out on a little trip, I guess, and it was about 300 miles round trip, and I think the highest I saw my temps get was about 189 for coolant, the same for oil, and then my transmission actually got warmer. It got to 196, but 180 to 200 is the normal operating temperatures for the transmission, and it was also like 97 degrees outside with about 60% humidity, so it was a little warm that day. So humidity is rough because you get heat soak and it can't shed that heat as fast. So I think it's been doing an outstanding job. My fans are tuned. The only time I've ever had them kick on is when I was in my garage testing, because I have not had the car hit over 196 degrees yet, and that's what I have my low speed fan set to, is 196 degrees. They do kick on when you turn on the AC, which that's normal, but I made all those changes to the temperatures, and this is where it sits now. It's been a phenomenal thermostat so far, especially since the other one was bad out of the box, and I didn't know it until I started trying to run it and had all those issues with it. So if your thermostat housing is good, and you need a new thermostat, just go buy the Ripp thermostat that's set to 180. You can run your normal fan temps. I would not recommend it though. So if you have a way to tune your fan temps, go ahead and do that. 2015 and newer Chargers and Challengers, you need to have the PCM unlocked in order to do that. So that can get kind of spendy. 14 and olders do not need to be unlocked. So that saves you a little bit of money and headache. So anyway, that's where we're at. Everything is doing great. Have a good one. We'll see you next time. To go over the settings that I changed on my fans after I put in the 180 degree thermostat in my charger. These settings are for a V6 or the 3.6 Pentastar V6 in the Chargers. This would probably work with any vehicle if you decide to change the fans, as long as you can use HP tuners on it. So Chargers, Challengers, Rams, Jeeps for sure. I know those will work with. So here is what I did for the settings. So what you can see here is everywhere in green is where I changed the fan setting. So you can tell here, and they're all pretty much the same across the board when you start looking at this, between AC off, AC on, AC high speed, low speed, all of that kind of stuff. So factory is 230 degrees. The factory thermostat is 205 degrees opening. So 25 degrees after it opens, the high speed fan kicks on. So basically what I did is the difference between 205 and 180 is 25 degrees. So what I did is I just took every one of those cells, and you have to do these one at a time, and lowered that temperature 25 degrees. I left the I don't even know how to say it, Hysterius, or however you pronounce it. I left that differential the same. I haven't noticed any adverse effects from that. Basically, that's your change delta from when the fans kick on to when they shut off. So I haven't really noticed any difference. I don't know if I'm not doing that right, but I haven't seen anyone else change this hysteresis either. So I left them all the same. So basically what I did was, this is the factory tune. And if you look here, some people have changed these for fan type and fan FCM controlled. This should pull from HP tuners when you pull the factory tune down, but apparently for some vehicles it does not. So go online and make sure you select the correct fan type. Here's your options basically. Oh, I can't change it because this is the old one, but when I get into the new one, I'll show you. So like right now, the low speed fan turns on at 219, high speed, medium and high speed at 230. So what I did is, again, I dropped everything down 25 degrees. This won't let me go 25 degrees. If I put in 195, it actually goes back to 196. It's kind of weird. So I just left it at 196. So you can see here, I lowered everything. Transmission was different. That was for whatever reason, like 5 degrees different. So well, let me look. I can tell you. Yeah, so 2 degrees, 9 degrees difference. So I went and lowered these quite a bit because the normal operating temperature of the 8-speed transmission is 180 to 200 degrees. And I do know that that fan at 190 will kick on. The low-speed fan, I can hear it kick on. And it keeps everything in line as far as temps and stuff like that. And then once it gets below there, it drops again. So what I did is I adjusted all of those, and you can see here, pulse width module, desired engine coolant temp. I dropped those to 199 and 196. Again, 25-degree difference over the factory. And then here in your fans, these are what you have for options. I didn't change these, and I haven't had any issues because this is how they were set up. Some people have to go in. I know I've seen them on Jeeps. They have to go in like relay 2-speed, relay 3-speed, things like that. So there's things that you might need to change there if it doesn't already come changed. So again, this is where I was at here. When I went to the AC side, I left, oh, those are high RPMs. There was another area that I changed. Yeah, right here. The VE, volumetric efficiency engine coolant temp factor. I lowered that by, oh my gosh. I don't remember what I did. 0.05 it looks like. Something like that, but I did lower that. And that's just your volumetric efficiency engine coolant temp tables. I haven't noticed any difference with that. It's not a huge deal as far as what I've seen. I have noticed a little uptick in gas mileage. I was getting 26 to 27 before. Now, like on my drive home yesterday, I was getting 30 miles a gallon. I did have a tailwind, but it's been averaging 28, 29. So that cooler temperature going in there and that denser charge, all of that stuff plays a part. So it can have something to do with that. Another thing I did is in engine diag, I disabled the coolant temp below threshold. When it's cold outside, what can happen is it can take quote unquote too long to warm up because of the 180-degree thermostat, and you'll set a check engine light. Just uncheck those, and what'll happen is that code will never pop up. And it's something you should be able to check, especially in cold weather. You'll know if you're not heating up very fast because your heat's not going to work very well. It'll be pretty inefficient. So those are the 3 areas that I basically made changes. The big one, again, is up here in system under fans. That's the big one. As far as those temps, if you don't change those temps, what can happen is your thermostat will open at 185, but your engine coolant will continue to rise. The temperature will continue to rise until that 210 degrees or whatever for the low fans. And then you start to get heat soak. And then what happens is that thermostat stays open because it's no longer cycling that cool and warm coolant going through the system like it should. So then your temps creep up and it kind of defeats the purpose of having a cooler thermostat. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me and I can answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you.